Hello, this is Taha.
This is Anaina,
This is Movie Masala.
and we're here to yap to you about films we watched recently.
And welcome to our 100th episode. It's been quite a journey.
We hope everyone who has been listening to us so far has had a wonderful time hearing us yap and yap and yap. And thank you to people who have been listening in as many times as you have. And just as a cute fun reminder, if you guys have any suggestions of films you want us to watch, just write in and we'll try our best to watch them and have a little bit of a yap about them as well.
Yeah, you can email us at movie.masala.podcast@gmail.com. Also, just tell us like what you think. I'm happy to read emails out here as well. But yeah, thank you for listening. So to mark the occasion, perfect timing. We're gonna do our 2025 top and bottom best and worst films of the year. We're each gonna do a top five and a bottom three, not necessarily in order, but basically the best and worst films we watched. So I'll start with our best films of the year. And the first film I have is the film that I was very scared about coming out. I was hesitant to see if it would
Mm-hmm.
genuinely live up to expectations, and I'm so happy it did, which was The Naked Gun. This revival of a spoof comedy genre starring Liam Neeson, who's replacing Leslie Nielsen, and like a behemoth of a shoe to step in, directed and written in part by Akiva Schaffer from The Lonely Island. This film delivers so well. Is it perfect? No, but it is genuinely feels like a revival of the spoof comedy genre. As someone who loves films like Aeroplane, like Monty Python, as like the original Police Squad, Team America, it encapsulates that genre so well. The jokes are so fast paced; they come at you like bang, 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 bang. Like you barely have a chance to laugh at it, and then it comes. And this is seriously an incredible revival of this genre.
Amazing. I'm going to also do a genre film for my first of the top five. Again, these aren't like ordered, so when I say first, I just mean like first in this list, and it's Materialist. I, as we did on the episode, really enjoyed Materialist as the kind of artsy style rom com that it was by Celine Song. And I think what it did for me was it kind of revitalized the rom com genre for 2025 or the age of 2025. Where a lot of people were like, yeah, but this isn't rom com enough.
It felt like such a fresh take on it.
Exactly. And a lot of people were like, oh, this isn't rom com enough, or this or that, or, it's like broke people propaganda, etc., etc., etc. But to me, what it did was it showed that rom coms don't always have to be silly and light, that they have a lot of depth and meaning behind them, which people just often look over. Like a perfect encapsulation of why I love rom coms so much. And I've spoken about rom coms so many times on this podcast.
That
And
is
to
your
me, it just
position in
kind
the
of felt
podcast.
like
Yes.
a film version of all the academic thoughts I have about rom com. And just as a film itself as well, not just like in terms of what it means or whatever, just as a film as well, I think it captures the softness of relationships really well. And I think just the acting from all three leads was fantastic. I think Pedro Pascal, Dakota Johnson, and Chris Evans play into that soft, subtle melodrama, yet, we're trying to stay away from huge emotions really well. And I think it was definitely a fantastic second film from Celine
Yeah,
Song.
100%. So my fourth one would definitely be my favorite superhero film that came out this year. My most anticipated film of the year, if you watch that episode that we did. And that is the Man of Steel himself, James Gunn's Superman. I am so happy with this film. By the way, you can watch our episodes for all of them, these films. But my favorite parts about this film is not only how hopeful and heartfelt this film is, how it genuinely sells you Superman, is just seeing the groundswell of people who saw this film for the first time and fell in love with the character like I have. That I
Like
think that is the
me.
best part about the
Like
film.
me.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Just seeing all like my Instagram being flooded with Superman media and people being like, "Oh, like I watch Superman and I just want to be a nice person today." Like exactly. That's why this character is so amazing. Is because you see someone with such incredible power be such a good person and you're inspired. And I think James Gunn, despite this film's whatever, just got the characters so right. Not just Superman and Clark Kent, but also Lois Lane, also Jimmy Olsen, also 101% Lex Luthor, because Nicholas Holt, he is genuinely Lex Luthor to me after this.
100%. This film felt really equal in its acting, in the sense that I don't think anyone outshone another person, and that's like a good testament to treating characters well and casting people appropriately as per the character's demands.
Adding to that is Edie Gathie's Mr. Terrific, who also definitely sold the show and people's hearts in that film as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. My next film is a film I watched. Oh, a lot of these films are films I watched fairly recently, but one that I saw later than its initial release. But it's called Happy End. This Japanese film. I think we have an episode on that as well. I think
Mhm.
particularly this movie. It's not that I was surprised by it. It's that I was surprised by how much it impacted me personally and how much it got me like thinking about not just Japanese culture, but also about like how we perceive Japanese culture in this one kind of monolithic way. And I think this film does a really, really good job of getting the dystopia of just general dystopias really well. But then because it's about high school kids, it does that balance between funny and serious and like heartbreaking really, really, really well. When I went into the film, I wasn't expecting to come out so like speechless and blown away.
It just sticks with you.
Exactly, yeah. And I had so many thoughts. But I think the standouts for me were the music of this film is like it's fantastic. It fully sucks you in and draws you into this world, keeps you hooked and almost kind of edges you to a point of frustration, which encapsulate the tone and frustration within the film as well really well. And I think it's just written also plot wise and dialogue wise really well. I think the film never forgets that its protagonists are children. And I think that's really important because in a lot of like films that are about high school teenagers but deal with serious topics sometimes tend to
Mhm.
treat the kids like adults or kind of hold them to adult standards, but this film
Yeah,
doesn't do that.
100%. I
That's
know
kind of
what
the
you
point of
mean.
the film. So I think this was like 100% a standout and something that like I think about from time to time as well.
Amazing. With that, like, I want to move on to my third one, which also, Anaina, funnily enough, is our most viewed episode we've done, which is The Ballad of Wallace Island. I think it might just be because we were one of the few people who actually reviewed and saw this film. I just genuinely don't know how many people saw this.
I mean, we showed up in a Google search, I bet.
SEO for the win. Okay, so this film, which is directed by James Griffiths, is written by Tom Bazin and Tim Key, who also star in. Tim Key being one of the people in the first season of Taskmaster, a show I deeply, deeply love, and who also is like a consultant on the show as well. So a person who has an incredible comedic chops. And honestly, Tim Key plays Charles, this eccentric person who lives in a remote island and just wants to get two of his favorite artists together. And he adds so much emotional depth and complexity to it. He makes you fall in love with such an annoying sometimes character so well. It is a small film, not only in budget and cast, with just Tom Batson, Tim Key, Carey Mulligan, and Sean Clifford being realistically the only four main people in this film, but also a small film in the type of like scope it has and the term of plot it's telling. But despite that, it has such big heart that it draws you in so much that again, it's like the film that I did not stop thinking about throughout the year and just was like hoping to just meet someone in the wild who had seen it.
100%. I love a good small indie film that just sticks with you because it just shows the power of giving money to small filmmakers and not just small filmmakers, just to film in general, any kind of film, regardless of whether you think it's going to sell or not.
Exactly. And also folk music. I love folk music.
For sure. So I'm now going to move on to my next film, which did come out fairly recently, like at the end of November, Billion. This is a purely British born film directed by Harry Lighton. It's his directorial debut, and my god, what a debut. If he's debuted this way, I am so, so, so excited to see what he has next. I think in my episode on Pillion, I just watched it, so I was like struggling to articulate my thoughts on it. But I recently rewatched it, and I definitely have my like criticisms of it from hearing other people's perspectives. But I just think that
Hmm.
this film goes somewhere that people are scared to go to right now in terms of film. People are scared to show intensity and vulnerability and just like grittiness, and also
I think everything I've heard about this film makes me feel like this is your critic's favorite film. Like so many compliments coming from people who love film being like, no, this was one of my favorite films of the year.
100%. And I think a lot of it is down to Harry Lighton's vision for this film, the softness with which he treats the subject matter, and then just Alexander Skarsgård and Harry Melling's chemistry. I think they suit each other so well. They both play into their characters really well.
Hmm.
There's just something about the two of them when you see them together that kind of makes you go, they're kind of cute. Like I said in my episode as well, you don't expect this film to be sweet and soft, but it
Hmm.
ends up being that. That's the note it ends on. And that I think is what fully makes me go like, yes, this is a fantastic film, because at the end it takes you somewhere you weren't expecting, but it never comes as a shock or a hit. It's all a build up.
That's absolutely wonderful. Moving on to the next one, which is on both of our lists, which is The Seed of a Sacred Fig, written and directed by Mohammad Rasulullah. This again was also, if I remember, on one of our like or both of our like most anticipated films of the year as well. And again, another film that fully delivered.
Oh, 100%. I recently put that film on one of my classes, like assignments, which was like to design a syllabus or a curriculum. And I was like, no, this film needs to be on there, which is how much I'm like haunted by this film in a good way.
No, 100%. Like it is not only such an incredible portrayal of Iran and the Iranian Revolution during that time. I think Rasulullah's like integration of real world footage and everything really serves to ground you in what is happening. And then the acting really heightens the tension. Like I think it understands one of the best ways to understand any big, larger societal issue is to deliver it through a person and personal perspective and to highlight the people within it. And with that, it really does deliver on all of those grounds. And I think it's also just the acting and how fantastic it is that you're so absorbed into the film.
And I think one of the things that stuck out really well to me was the genre blending of this film. Like the first half of the film is really realistic and kind of like you said uses the real life footage, etc. And then the second half is a complete genre shift, but it never does a tonal shift. The tone of the film still remains the same, but the genre changes, and I think that's such an impressive thing to do. And it
A hundred
genuinely,
percent,
throughout
yeah.
the film though, even though the second half is more horror like, the first half is just as terrifying. And I think it's such a impressive and such a incredible task to achieve in terms of writing and in terms of the message it's trying to give. It's like if you do not leave this film horrified and terrified, then you did not properly watch this film. And if you do not leave this film in genuine concern about things that are happening in certain parts of the world, then you did not correctly understand this film either.
Yeah, and also on the genre shift you mentioned, I think it is very successful on that because it doesn't lose sight of what the narrative is about. And like you mentioned, that helps maintain the tone, even though the genre becomes a bit more surreal and horror like as well. And I think you leave the film and the credits roll, and you genuinely feel like you've gone through an experience with this.
Absolutely, 100%. And for my last film, last of my top five, I'm going to say Hamnet. Hamnet for me was equally as much about the film as the experience of watching the film in the particular setting that I
Okay.
did. And I don't think the experience of watching the film takes away from the film itself. If you go back and listen to the episode, I talk about how Chloe Zhao led the whole room of thousands of people through a breathing exercise before we watched the film. And it was kind of like
We
life
remember,
changing for me
yes.
in that moment. Yeah, it more than anything, it brought back the magic of cinema for me and going
That's
to the cinema
incredible.
with other people. And I think the film really plays into that as well because the film takes you on an experiential journey as well. It is such a mellow and subtle film, yet it's never soft. It constantly forces you to kind of look beyond and read beyond what is being shown. And it's very much a spiritual experience, this film, which kind of ties into how they made it and kind of like the whole process behind making it and the theory behind making it, etc., etc. It might sound pretentious and snobby or whatever, but I do genuinely believe that films like Hamnet that embody a certain experience, which I think is very Shakespearean. The content matter of the film is about
Yeah.
Shakespeare and his writing of Hamlet, the play, and his family and his wife. It is a very Shakespearean thing to kind of embody an experience. And I think this film does it really well. I think Chloe Zhao's vision in this is the most important thing to me. And I definitely think when it comes out in January, I would love to see more people go and just watch it in a cinema.
Fair enough. I want to wind up this with my personal favorite film of the year, which I wish I saw more. I already did see it like 2 or 3 times, but honestly, I would have seen it again. And I watched it the first time and immediately went like during one specific scene, oh my God, this might be one of the best films I've watched, period. And that is Sinners. Ryan Coogler has not missed. I had a conversation with someone like yesterday which is about directors who are not just good but like have incredible consistency with their work, which is again harder to do the more work you do. But I don't think Ryan Coogler has missed, and with Sinners he really elevates on every single thing he does. Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler cook up like this incredible blues racial commentary which has so many factors that feed into it. It is both an incredible horror vampire film, but also being a film about the power of music, very basically. The music in it is incredible. The acting in it is impeccable. And the direction is astounding, right? No part of this film is lackluster. On top of all of this, this is a blockbuster film. This is not in the whole indie film that like I can't show my dad and him not have fun with it. That's what I mean. It feels like someone who really wants to make like a big epic popcorn movie and has the skill to imbue that with such craftsmanship and such incredible narratives that it incredibly shines.
For sure, definitely.
So let's get into quickly, I think, because obviously if we didn't enjoy these as much, I doubt we have that much to say about them. But let's get into like the worst films we saw this year, which again is the worst films we saw this year, I think, not the worst films that came out, because I don't think either of us specifically go out to see bad films.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm not even going to like try and give a justification why I think they were bad. I think I'm just going to start off with my first one, which is Tava, which again we did a podcast on. And literally, I
Hmm.
don't think I've rated any other film worse than this film. And that's purely because of the absolute venomous propagandist shit it was spewing. And I think that's all I need to say. Unfortunately, we are seeing a trend in films such as Chava, like just recently, and I'll say what I said back then. They need to stop and shut up. That's all.
Fair enough. Like it's really upsetting when a film has nothing more to do than just propagandize you, and that's also not well, sadly.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so the first one I want to start with is War of the Worlds. This film became a viral meme. It took H.G. Wells' sci-fi epic of like aliens invading, something which Spielberg adapted, and decided, you know how the best way to make this film is via showing everyone on a Zoom call. And also we'll make sure that the star of this film is the most incredible actor we can find, Ice Cube. This film is so bad that it genuinely does loop around to being something you can watch as a comedy unintentionally. The reason that it's still on my list and I just don't remove it despite its entertainment value is the genuine upsetting thing where they took footage of real life war and like drone bombs and stuff like that and decided to use that in the film as sci-fi elements. And that just felt so tone deaf and lack of creativeness as well to be like, no, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to let you get off easy.
Yeah, fair enough. My next one is if I had Materialist on as like a fantastic rom com from this year, I have to include another rom com, and it's my Oxford year, which didn't make it to theaters. It wasn't on theater, it was on an OTT platform. It did release on an OTT platform, to be fair. But it's just a perfect example of rom coms we do not need to be making anymore, in the sense that neither does it have any substance, nor does it have any acting credibility. It just chucks a bunch of rom com tropes into one film and hopes for the best, which I'm just like, we do not need any more of that. It's done, dusted, put it away. We have the ability to be better with this genre, and I need us to be better than my Oxford year.
Sounds like a Netflix film in the worst possible way, genuinely.
It is. It is. It's a Prime film, Amazon Prime film, I think.
Potato, potato. Okay, so my next one is a film which also became quite popular. It is a Minecraft movie. Listen, I'm happy that people enjoyed this film. Listen, I don't want to take away from anyone's enjoyment. But a film that was based on a video game where there is no real plot also turned out to have the most generic half-ass plot I could find, where it abandons half of the things it does. Some characters are just there and don't do anything, both female, weirdly enough. Its plot feels like paper thin and has no real like substance to it to make it work. And it is genuinely tragic and ironic that a film that is representing a game which is built on imagination and creativity lacks all of that in its own storytelling and narrative. Again, some credits for the visuals, which I think were fun, and three jokes which I actually laughed at, maybe two. But aside from that, this film gave me absolutely nothing. And I'm pretty sure it gave most theater owners a headache as well.
Oh, yeah. I think my last film is a film I don't necessarily have a individual problem with, but it kind of represents the problem I have generally with franchisees that don't know when to finish. And that is Jurassic World Rebirth. I don't think there was any necessarily specific bad thing about it other than the fact that it should not have been made. There was no reason for it to be made. There was no significant addition to plot or story or like the general world building, I guess. It was kind of recycling the same thing. It went on for a little bit too long. And just like our episode with Jurassic Park / World Expert on who on it, it's and if a film that is part of such a large franchisee is just then maybe we need to stop making them. I think a lot of my words have been please stop, please just don't, in different formats. And I think that sums up my frustration with Hollywood and Bollywood and all of these kind of film industries. So like know when to stop on certain things.
I love how the film itself criticizes this like weird capitalistic instinct to like go after profit even at a cost, and then just does the exact same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Truly. So to finish it off, I think one of my least favorite films of this year, which was very controversial for very valid reasons, was Captain America Brave New World. This film, again, like you said, represent like how you talked about franchises and everything, represents one of the worst of the MCU, where it is bringing back a character who has incredible potential and then just squandering it. It feels like a sequel to The Incredible Hulk, which no one was thinking about, and also doesn't do it properly either. It has rushed CGI, which you can see. And again, with the first two, at least there's some redeeming factor. With this film, like honestly, I can't recall a single one. It is generic, it is bland, and it is not even nearly the best film that Marvel has put out this year.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, those were our films. Those were our thoughts. Thank you again for joining us throughout this year. I hope you enjoyed all of this. To end on a note of more positivity, I guess. And next episode we'll do more of the films we're looking forward to as the new year starts. And yeah, like I've enjoyed doing this. If you followed us on our socials, thank you. Like we post clips there as well. Please do share it. Like again, we both want to grow this further because at the end of the day, both of us, I don't think are doing this for monetary gain, but would like more people to listen to it because I think anytime you're putting thoughts out there, the thing you really want most is just for people to listen to you, to people to give, also just talk to you, tell you about them, comment back, stuff like that. And we have received some nice comments around those as well.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we did this because we like talking about film and we know there's a huge film
Yeah.
community out there. We see you guys on Letterboxd, we read your reviews and go, oh my god, we agree. We use some of your reviews on this podcast as well. So if you're listening to this and you know anyone who's like equally not just obsessed, but just like watching films and like talking to people about it or hearing different opinions on it, please do share. We love having a large community of
And
people.
wants to hear the thoughts of two non-cis white men as well, like who are the most amount of reviewers. Like honestly, if you want to hear about like two brown people, also talk about films,
Yeah, we're
we might be a good show
non-problematic people with mics, so you can trust
for
us.
now.
You may not agree with our takes. You may not agree with our takes, but we will definitely have at least one take that you're like, yeah, okay, fine,
At least we have takes.
right? Imagine.
So those are our thoughts. Thank you for tuning in. This podcast is produced solely by us with musical assets from Pixabay. If you enjoyed this, please do share it. See you again next time.
Bye bye.
And have a happy new year.